Anyway, on my last video I basically said why your owners won't want you to make a life change and marry me. I've got to be careful because I don't want to say it's the most fantastic thing in the world, you know, but you just got to look at it objectively. There are a lot of people out there. Every time I see a really cute girl on the news that's been like beaten to death by a abusive boyfriend, I sort of think there's someone that would probably been better off marrying me. But I mean, it's not as simple as that, because a lot of these girls are actually stupid, and the reason they like their boyfriends is because they are abusive and tough, and that's what they like about them. They wouldn't like me, I'm too soft. But that's all beside the point. But the reason they wouldn't want you going your owners, if you accept the concept of being owned, you probably think, that stupid bloke on the internet, I'm not owned, and do what I want. You know? Really? I mean, in England, they control exactly where people live and what they do. Essentially, through a combination of two things: high house prices and low wages. They control you. So between the age of 14 and 30, for example, although you probably couldn't start working at 14, between 16, 18, it's all controlled. So that you basically cannot start working and buy a property. You have to live in a segregated area. It's like apartheid. A segregated area for people like yourself that's heavily policed and controlled through a whole regime of subcontracted rules and regulations, many of which associated with two things: multiculturalism, and second thing, what I call diversity. That's splitting people. Diversity in my book is division. Diversity, division, it's the same thing. To divide and conquer. So you might find yourself working in a factory with a diverse range of people, including ethnically diverse, but also ability and age. So you will go between, let's say, 18 and 30, not sound odd, you will get essentially £6.50 an hour if you're lucky enough to have a full-time job, or maybe £10. It's pointless. They give you enough to live on, leveraged against the fact that you can't afford to buy anything and you can't freely move around. You have no freedom, and by the time you get to 30, you're caught in the system one way or another. You're married. If you're married, you're out of the equation. You're settled. You can move around as much as you want. You're going to be with the person, and you're going to be with the anchor that keeps you there, your children. And that is basically how the system works. And then they will have a hierarchy of owners that live in the suburbs that will control you. I mean, you might find that you're on the other side of the equation, that you are the owner. You are a slave owner and a slave trader. You own and run a company that employs slaves, because that's pretty much what's happening. If you're on that side of the equation, then you're not going to want to marry me anyway. But if you're on the other side of the equation, you know, you're in a call centre, little office job, your job goes from nothing to nothing. By the time you're 30, you're pretty much sorted. Going back a little bit, there's lots of little steps that go on between the ages of 14 and 30. I'll use that age bracket again because it's significant and important. They are setting into concrete your historic psychological perceptions, and more importantly, your physiosociological environment your friends. And throughout and throughout, they will continually tell you, oh, you've got some really good friends. Your friends are really good. Your friends are really nice. You must really like your friends. You don't want to, you know, best friends for life, best friends forever. All this sort of all bollocks, you know, continually rammed down your throat. People, you know, going, oh, we're going out, going to the beach, going snowboarding, surfing, mountaineering, living the iPhone lifestyle with your multicultural friends, with the friends that they've given you since the age of 14. You know, you get, and that's so heavily entrenched in everything that happens, so much so that you don't realise that you're at the bottom of that food chain, that you've been following the owners around in what they do. And to actually break free of those chains at the age of 30, 40, 50 is almost impossible. And the other thing you really need to bear in mind is the age of 40, 50, people actually start to die. We're talking about end game. Not everyone gets beyond 30, 40, 50. You've got to realise that these are the things that they know. They know between the age of 14 and 30 that the fundamental building blocks of most people's lives are done and dusted. You might get a few odd little rabbits running outside the warren, a few sheep jumping over the fence, but pretty much it's done. And people actually start to die. People actually start to get ill. People actually start to find that they can't do anything more. The things that they grew up considering, contemplating, aspiring to, hoping for, between the age of 14 and 30, they just don't exist at that end of the spectrum. But they don't tell you that. You know, so your life is heavily controlled by things that you can't even conceive or consider. You just think that you're free. You think you can go on the internet, make loads of friends, go to college, make loads of new friends. Now the fact of the matter is, yeah, there is a huge scope for social migration at those levels, but it's all controlled. For example, you try and have a family at the age of 18, you will find everything goes against you, because they don't want you doing that at that age. They want to control you. They don't want you to actually start developing an empire, a family. I mean, a lot of poor people do actually do that, so I'm on thin rope on that, because that's basically, family is a controlling tool. But when they want to actually be using you as a product and a tool in their machine, for a lot of people, especially if you're interested in marrying me, they don't want that happening, because that basically takes you out of the equation for their fun, being able to do what they want with you. But the other end of the spectrum is, and this is the most important from my point of view, that I consider, age 18, you start to actually say, I want to buy a house. There's just nothing out there that actually caters for that. The employers will not say, come and work for us because we understand you want to buy a house. That's just completely alien. I've been in these work environments, and they will literally stand up at the Friday meetings and say, you now, referring to people's pay, say, oh, now you've got your beer tokens, because that's what they are, they're beer tokens. If you actually take your pay, save it up to buy a mortgage, you will find that you don't get promoted, that you're socially ostracised, and you lose your job at some point, because they only want people that are going to go out there and take the beer tokens that they're giving and then go and exchange them for social activities, pissing it up against the wall. Oh, well, they might make it sound really classy by going out to restaurants, going out for some theatre, social activities. You try and say to your employer, my objective is to get married, to have children, and to have a house and stability. They don't want to know. This is not what it's geared up for. You go to any factory, say, I'm interested in a job. I'm not interested in your money. I'm interested in what this will actually allow me to do. Will it allow me to get a family and to buy a house? And it won't. because it's temporary. They've got one reason or another, but it's all beside the point. Between the age of 14 and 30, and I don't know why I keep focusing on that, but they will. It's all geared up to set in the chains of control without allowing you to amass the ability to harness your own freedom. Now, you've got to put that into perspective, because here, I'm wandering around this house here. I own this house 100%. And so that doesn't go for this country. You know, if I was an American, I would be free. I would not have to work again. I would have achieved those goals and objectives. But you can't do that in England, because England is basically a different animal. The bonds of slavery are different there than they are here. But whilst America is what I would consider to be a fairly tyrannical police state, at the same end you do actually have what I consider to be the default option of dropping out. And it's not dropping out and being antisocial, it's dropping out and controlling your life. You can never do that in England, which is why I bought this place. Now, we're sort of going off all over tangents here, but I mean the premise of my little video here really is to discuss is basically to discuss why they don't want me, why they don't want anyone meeting me. I think that's pretty much what I was thinking at the beginning, but I'm sort of forgetting, to be quite honest. But the bottom line is they don't want to. They don't want to breed people like me, who will then turn around to and encourage people to think freely. Hang on. Instead of slaving away for the best years of my life, I could buy a house like this for $8,000. You can still do it. You can buy a house like this for even less if you want to live somewhere else. Now, this is Florida. You could buy a house like this in Iowa for $500, in Chicago for $100, Detroit. You know, and then you are free. And from that point of freedom, you can then you can then say, okay, now I'm going to draw the contract with which I'm going to engage in the state and in society. So as long as that's the essence of freedom. It doesn't mean you don't ever want to work. If I want to go and work, if I was an American citizen living here, I could, if I chose to, I could go and work at McDonald's restaurant if I made that choice. I could go and work there for 6 months, and I could probably get enough money to sustain myself for 12 months. So, you know, at the base level, I could work, you know, a third of my life at a subsistence level. I mean, I could probably do even better, doing other things, earning even more money. A, because I'm quite bright and intelligent and capable, and I'm already earning that money anyway, so I know how much I could earn. But I'm not an American citizen, so I can't come and live here. But the bottom line is, they don't want people like me out there in the real world advertising the potential for freedom. There are a lot of things that I can't do, but it all comes back down to the singular concepts of ownership, owning people, you know, and how most people don't actually realise that they're owned and controlled. And I think that's pretty much sort of what I'm trying to sort of get across here. And so the bottom line is, you're sort of thinking, well, hang on, this bloke, he's been on the internet for at least 10 years with that domain, and as he says, look at my heat rash. I think you find it's even worse on my back. That's because it's hot here. I don't care. I'm going to have a shower in the garden in a bit if I want. I'll even use the sink. But the fact of the matter is, what I'm trying to get to here, just in this little video, and you probably think, God, this bloke's mad, is that they don't want freedom, and that they will attack it any way they can to undermine it, to create criminals out of people. You just even imagine it. You know, they've pretty much tried it. It's another thing that young people don't understand, is that the government actually do evil things mechanically to people that don't do exactly what they're told. And they'll say, oh no they don't, oh I've got a friend who takes loads of drugs and you know the police never arrest him, or stuff like that. And the fact of the matter is, even just that random thing that I picked up on there, drugs, they want people to take drugs. Drugs is the big dope. Drugs is to society what Russian vodka was to communism. It just pacifies people. It's a double win for the government. It pacifies people, and then when they want, they can just go in there and take their annual crop of people, chuck them into jail. Crack, cocaine, heroin, you know, they pretty much control the whole market. You know, introduce poisonous strains, you know, all these things like Ebola at the moment, it's all government engineered. I know we're going into crackpot territory here now, but you've got to understand that the governments of this Western world are not good people. You know, we are being deceived massively. They've got this book, and I can't remember what it is, but it's called Nazi Terror. I can't remember who wrote it. Look it up, and it's all about how the Nazis in Nazi Germany rose to power, and the German people didn't say anything. Now the thing is, the Germans didn't rise up stonking around with their jackboots saying eat children, kill Jews, do all these terrible things. They rose up as good, upright people doing everything that was good. I don't want to go into too much of the Second World War, but basically the Germans, when it comes down to the Second World War, they did a couple of things that were strategic mistakes. See, you don't think I'm a Nazi or something, but the thing, if you say, well, what's wrong with the Nazis? What did they do wrong? Oh, they killed 6 million Jews. Well, you can argue what actually happened, but when you actually intrinsically analyse what is said to have happened, and I don't actually even believe a lot of that, it didn't happen until 1943, 1944, with a particular agreement made by high-level Nazi command to actually start exterminating people. Before then, it didn't exterminate anyone. What they had were concentration camps. So the bottom line is, if you were to extract that form of genocide from their history, they didn't actually do anything wrong other than invade Poland, France, Czechoslovakia, and all of that. You know, declaring war on another nation was intrinsically wrong. So if you were to take away that, they would just be another nation of certain people. Now, I'm not trying to defend them in any way, I'm just trying to bring up an example. They rose to power as being people that essentially, 1933, no one knew that Hitler was going to invade Poland. 1934, no one knew. 1937, no one knew. Up until those times, it was happy times. You know, it was the German people rising up through depression into the good times. And when they invaded Poland, well, I don't know what happened, but the book details about how people accepted these things. Now, the point I'm trying to make here is that the people that control our lives are doing exactly the same thing now. They're invading Libya, they're invading Iraq, they're murdering millions of people. They're just doing it in a different way because they've learned from history. They cannot have concentration camps, so they have distributed concentration camps, and the whole concept of distributed concentration camps is what you get in distributed computing. So instead of having a massive area of slaves, you distribute it throughout a society and throughout community, with financial walls created through earning power and property values. So you will, even in America, although I can live in this place here for £8,000, the bottom line is the financial barriers are still there because I am actually in a distributed concentration area, basically full of black people, let's face it. And that's why this place isn't really cheap, because they want to give people of that kind the ability to move around, but they can't move to Clearwater, they can't move to the really nice places where property values are like $500,000, $1 million. You know, the financial walls are still here. And so basically, if there's this massive social control network that's up, and they don't want you getting out of that, and more importantly, they don't want caged animal, me, getting out with the ability to talk to other people. Because one of the, I think the general idea of what I'm trying to say here is that they don't want me marrying anyone. I'll say that with condition. They don't mind me marrying someone that's way below my social strata. When I was young, between the ages of 18 and 21, I had essentially the perfect match for me. I don't like to talk about it that much, but that was because I was owned and controlled. I was a tool, and they basically, if you're a jock in American high school, you get, you know, the captain of the football team, you get the head of cheerleaders, and I got what was normal and natural for me. But when I stopped doing what they told me, or when I stopped performing up to their standards, maybe, when I failed, when I fell from grace, whatever you want to describe it, they took it away. Now, it's a difficult one to sort of put your hand on, but I just grab the beast by the balls and say, if I wanted to find a hugely ugly person, I could do it. I could walk out tomorrow, I could walk down the street, and I could find someone fat and ugly that would love me. And I don't want to say love me, I mean I would say see, you've got to be careful about that, because you become narcissistic, you see. I mean, I am truly what I consider to be truthful, in the sense that I don't brush my hair, I need a shave, I need a wash, I can do all these things. I understand the underlying substrate of humanity is clearer to see through the dirt and grime of reality. These people are not on my wavelength. So I need someone that's cute and yummy, because I am cute and yummy. You just think, oh God, this bloke, he's such a creepy cunt. You know, how can he say these things? But it's true, as far as I'm concerned. And they will not let that, basically, they don't want that getting out into the real world. And I can just imagine all the paid consorts of all their government sanctified commentators saying, oh, this bloke, you know, he's obviously a goddamn freak. But it's the truth, and I'm quite happy with that. And if I was to die in truth, I would be happier than having died in lies. Scared the cats away again. They're out there having dinner. They always run away. But so they don't want me basically getting out of that box. They don't want me sitting down and talking like this in a cafe or a restaurant, saying, oh, you know, you can't trust the government, you know, the managers, they're all in it to rip us off, landlords, you know, they own our property, you know, buying to let, you know, it's all evil. They don't want that. You know, that's the security risk. They would much rather have people that just complete morons talking about what they provide as a social medium than nothing. I'm going to stop this video because I've probably been talking too long, but I want to talk some more because I'm on a roll. Talking shit, but I'm on a roll.